Now, we live in a world in which many of us claim to celebrate diversity, to see the beauty in difference. And we teach our children in schools and through stories how they ought to treat others, how they should stand up to bullies, how they should extend a welcoming hand to those who are excluded. But we contradict those lessons with the way that we act, with the way that we treat others, how we gossip, how we make jokes behind people's backs, how we roll our eyes. And so the lesson that's actually learnt is that difference is something that's not good, that people who are different than us should be made fun of, should be ignored. And we see how this comes in society, how people who think differently, who act differently than this kind of arbitrarily decided idea of normal are isolated or excluded or pushed to the margins of society. And now, some of us, when we're growing up, will come to realize that we don't really fit this idea of normal, that we're different in some way, and we might go on to take these stereotypes, these attitudes, and apply them to ourselves in a process called self-stigma. Many more of us never even ask the question, who am I really? What do I really value? What do I really believe? Because we're afraid of what sort of consequences the answers might bring. And in both these cases, we become something other than who we really are. We put on a facade. We become self-conscious and self-interested. We become defensive and insecure. And so this brings to mind a story of Michelangelo talking about his approach to sculpture, to creating masterpieces like the one you see here, the Pieta. And what he said was that he would simply see the figure that was trapped inside the marble and chisel until he set it free. And how often in our lives does really lasting positive change come not when we add something, but when we remove some aspect of our lives that never really felt quite right in the first place. And the more we're able to do this, the closer we can come to who we really are. We can realize that underneath that facade lies something that has beauty and value that transcends anything that people can give to us, anything that people can take away. And so when we can do this, we can let go of our self-consciousness. We can stop doing things just to please others. We can become better listeners. We can become more engaged citizens, better partners. And I think most importantly, when we can find this beauty, this value in ourselves, we come to see it in others. Now, for the last year, friends and I have been running music programs here in Halifax that bring together Dalhousie students and community members and people who have lived experience of mental illness, lived experience of homelessness. And as a group, we play music, we sing, we talk about whatever happens to come up. And when we first got the idea for doing this, we were approaching it from the sense that music has some sort of innate ability to heal, that it's therapeutic in some way. And we believe that people from lower income backgrounds might not have had the luxury of paying $20 a half an hour for piano lessons, or might not own an instrument. So we thought if we could provide an environment for that to happen, that we could somehow be of help. And the original program we designed then was very based on lessons. It was based on teaching people how to play. Was what we thought was going to happen. There's a little bit of playing as a group, but it was really an afterthought, more to kind of get people warmed up. And so we were lucky that the first group that came when we did our pilot, they just kind of flipped everything around. And it became more about playing music as a group and more about doing these things together and sharing and playing pieces for each other. And it created this environment where we were all able to really be comfortable, be ourselves. And so in doing that, I mean, we left as volunteers, as teachers, or as facilitators, and we were kind of reflecting in the cab ride on the way home, just thinking like, we really didn't teach anything. We didn't teach any new songs or any new skills instrument-wise, and we actually realized that the lessons came very much in the other direction, the opposite direction. We learned about ourselves, learned about the people that were there, and I think most importantly for me was that I came to understand not just in here, but in here, that things like mental illness, things like homelessness, they exist within the context of this complete person, this complete human being that's standing in front of you. And the reason I think that music or the arts or any creative process really has this ability to create an environment where this can happen is because I think at its core it's a really introspective process, that when we go to do something that's creative, it asks us to look within ourselves. And when we first start playing songs or writing songs or painting or whatever it may be, we create these works of art that, like us in some ways, are the product of this culture of values, of ideas, of aesthetics that we've more or less kind of passively absorbed over our lives. And over time, we can kind of pare that away. We can get down to what is really part of us, what's really wanting to come out. And so in that sense, a masterpiece is really just the product of an artist who was able to, in that moment, be in touch with the truest form of themselves, to see that value in them, to see it in everything, and then to just paint or sing or write or whatever that is. Now, this all really comes together for me when we have our groups and we're playing a song together. It doesn't matter how silly it is or how childish the song might be, you really can't help but put some aspect of yourself in it. And even the most cliched, contrived piece of artwork contains some aspect of who we are, who we were in that moment. It's real in some way. And so what happens is when we play these songs as a group, you kind of create this little micro society where everybody in that moment for those 3 minutes is a peer, and they're all comfortable, they're all being them to varying degrees, and it kind of hits a reset button in your brain. You see people differently. You're able to kind of understand that there's something shared between you, that there's this kind of common humanity, this reaching for something better, always something better. And it's because of that ability to find what's common, that we don't really focus on how quickly someone's getting better at their instrument, and we don't only seek out the most expert musicians for volunteers. Because, I mean, it's about the music, it's a music program, but it's not really about the music, is it? It's about bringing people together who, on the surface, seem very different, and helping them to find that really, maybe they're not. And so I wanted to leave everybody here with a challenge to find the courage within yourself to take what you're passionate about, what you approach as a creative process, and find a way to bring that to groups of people that you feel you are very different than, that you don't understand in some way. I mean, this could be as simple as just you happen to be a liberal and you really don't understand how someone can support a conservative government, and you come together in some way. And I think if you're honest about the process, and if you're real about it, then you'll come to see that those differences are really just superficial, they're inconsequential. And that underneath all of that lies this common humanity, this connection that we all share. And that it's these authentic relationships, these authentic connections that will help us to end stigma. Thank you.